Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Blessings be blessings be on the speaker, the one who would manifest the words of truth and the words of wisdom. I, the sense of self-awareness. I, the sense of self-awareness or pure consciousness would manifest the words of truth and the words of wisdom, and blessings to be on my listener, the one who herself or himself that they have uncluttered from untruth, and they are in a path to truth. O Brahman, O the eternity, O the limitless, guide us from untrue to true. O Brahman, O the limitless, O the boundless, guide us in the path of truth and justice and wisdom. Guide us in the path of compassion, of forgiveness and love. Guide us in the path of unity. Guide us in your path, where the humans can live in peace with each other and with the rest of creation. Silence is very significant. When there was nothing, there was just silence. When there was nothing, there was just silence. This silence was through the point of view of a thinking mind. Through the point of view of a thinking mind, this silence can be understood as nothing. But through the point of view of silence, if you understand, through the point of view of a thinking mind, this silence can be understood as silence. But through the point of view of silence, there is just silence. You understand? That's one of the relation that there is between the Atman and the Brahman. The Brahman has no limits. The Brahman has no boundaries. The Brahman has no barriers. The Brahman has no objectivity attached to it. The Brahman is the silence. The Brahman is the darkness. Because through the point of view, through the point of light, there is darkness. But through the point of view of darkness, there is just darkness, no light. Darkness and light are not opposite to each other. Darkness and light are no less than to each other. Darkness and light are complementary to each other. Because the existence of one is depending on the existence of other. Had there not be a darkness, you wouldn't understand what light is. Had there not been light, you wouldn't understand what darkness is. You see, the fundamental and the purest form of the being is just eternity. That eternity, that which is boundless, that which is eternal, that which has no dimension, that which has no direction, that which has no physicality, form, or smell, is just the silence. But this silence is just not the silence. It is aware of itself. So when it is aware and when it is trying to know itself, it is giving birth to life. When it is trying to know itself because it knows it's aware. It knows that it's not aware by someone or something. It just knows that it is aware by itself. There is the fundamental and that is the purest form of the being that there is. So understand your profoundness and understand your fundamental state and understand that you are eternal. Understand real you was never born and real you would never pass on. Understand the immensity of yourself beyond the thought process. Understand the immensity of yourself beyond fear, beyond doubt in yourself. When you drive a car, for some time, I am sure each one of us, or most of us for the most part, drive a vehicle or a car. Do you turn into a car when you drive one? You are not the car. You are the driver. You use the car for your convenience. You following me, I hope. You use the car for your convenience. But after, when the purpose the car is serving is done, you leave the car aside. You do not turn into car by driving it. You remain yourself. That's just exactly the same way the difference or the relation between Brahman and the Atman. The driver is the Brahman and the car is the Atman. When driver needs to get around places, it drives the car. And when the purpose is served, it just leaves it alone and parks it, but does not turn into the car itself. When you look at a clay pot, are you following me to what I am saying? It's very significant to remember that the awareness and the clarity I'm bringing, and that awareness and clarity you would see vividly only by focusing to the sound of my voice. You can also call it a guided meditation of a type. When you look at a clay pot, all there is to the clay pot is clay. Is that a correct statement or it is not a correct statement? When you look at a clay pot, all there is to pot is clay. You see, I'm going to ask, I'm going to take you a, I'm going to take you one step further now. You see, I am going to take you one step further. While we are in the process, while we are in the process of this guided meditation, we also are making an attempt to silence the unnecessary thoughts, at least for some time, because this is our time. This is the time which is very significant. It's the time of the bond between Atman and Brahman. It's the time to form a band between Atman and the Brahman. When you look at a clay pot, all there is to pot is clay. Is it possible that clay pot would exist if there was no clay? Are you following the sound of my voice? Are you following words and the question that I have inquired you? Is it possible to form a clay pot without the existence of clay? You know the answer as well as I do. You see, you know the answer as well as I do. It's not possible, no hard we try, no hard we try to look at otherwise. Are you following? It's not possible, no hard we try to look otherwise and try to prove the scenario wrong. The existence of clay pot is not possible if there was no clay. It's a fact. And it's a very simple, but it's a very concrete and significant fact. Now, be the clay. You are not the pot. The existence of Atman is depending on the existence of Brahman. You are the Brahman in your purest and truthful form. You are not the Atman. There is clay, so the clay pot can be found. There is clay, so the clay pot can be built. There is clay, so the clay pot can be made. You see, you are not the clay pot. You are the clay itself. The existence of clay pot is depending on the existence of you. If you did not exist to begin with, nothing would exist in your experience. It's just like that. So do not feel overwhelmed with these circumstances. If you feel overwhelmed with these circumstances, my words and the sound of my voice would guide you. Suppose, as thought plays a very significant role in our lives, you see, even when we don't need thoughts, it is automatic, they come and they take over our awareness. But with the dedication, by making some time, but with the dedication, by making some time for ourselves, we take charge of the unnecessary thoughts. Since thought plays a very significant role in our lives, we are going to use this very thought process to get us in touch with our fundamental state. As I said, since thought plays a very significant role in our daily life, we are going to use the very thought process to get in touch with our fundamental state. Suppose you are watching a very interesting movie on your television screen. Please follow my words. Suppose you are watching a very interesting movie on your television screen, and all of a sudden somebody enters the room and the person tells you to all of a sudden pay attention to the television screen. You understand? Are you following my words? Suppose you are watching a brilliant movie on television screen. Somebody or a person enters the room and asks you, pay attention to the television screen on which the movie is being played on. You see what happens in that very moment, what happens in that very second there is a release of the focus which was on the movie, and the focus, the very release of the focus now goes to television screen. However, there is a release of the focus from the movie. Are you following me? There is a release of the tension between the movie and the seer. Just like that rubber band, that when you take the rubber band and you pull that rubber band, you feel the tension between two hands since the rubber band is being pulled. But when you release both sides of that rubber band, there is a release of tension. You see, you are releasing the tension between the two sides of that rubber band. Just like that, there is a release of tension between the seer and the movie. I would take you now a little, well, I would take you now one step further. Just be with me as you have been paying attention to the sound of my voice, and you are doing just wonderful. I would take you now one step further, and I would ask you, is it possible for the movie to play if there was no television screen? Are you understanding the question? Is it possible for is it possible for the movie to be played if there was no television screen? Is it possible for a movie running, a film, a motion picture, or whatever our thinking mind want to call it, without a screen of any type or a television screen? Is it possible? Now, in this step, we realize all there is to the movie. Now, in this step, we realize all there is to the movie is the television screen. Please know that. In this step, we realize, and this realization based on a conviction, which is our very experience. And the experience is, had there not been a television screen, there would not be the movie. Now be the television screen. And the movie is this three-dimensional experience that you are experiencing right now. This three-dimensional experience is the movie. You are not the three-dimensional experience. You are the television screen itself, the dependence, the three-dimensional experience, or the movie. You see, the existence of the movie is depending on the television screen. The television screen is not depending on the movie. You are the television screen itself, but not the movie. I hope you understand to what I am saying. You are the television screen itself and not the movie. It does not feel like it in our daily experience. When we are facing a troublesome situation, when we are having difficult time, the best thing to do is not to start thinking, how do I get out of the situation, but to see how I can dissolve the situation with more clarity and with more awareness. By using this type of guided meditation every day, when you make time in a super silent corner every day for yourself, you can use this meditation to quiet or silence your thoughts at least for some time, ideally in the beginning of your day. It would help you tremendously.